We did develop another spring here. It's got two different size ends. All right, guys, so today I want to go more in depth in the CFMOTO U10 clutch and talk about some of the things that we've done, some changes that we've made. I want to talk about some stuff that people are concerned about, mainly these springs and stuff, and we're going to go into detail with that. I got the calipers to help go into detail. But first, before we talk about the springs, I want to talk about these weight arms. So let's go ahead. I'm going to get this phone on the tripod. So our arms will come with 3 holes in them. I want to talk about what each of these holes do when tuning. Yes, we have instructions that help you get your clutch kit set up, but a lot of you are contacting us with questions about what each hole actually does. Some of you want to play around, and that's fine. We encourage that. So our kit comes with, well, they're stuck to the table, but more magnets than what we got here. I'm just using these for reference, but it comes with magnets, and those magnets will go in the holes. Let me hold this to where I can get it nice close up. There we go. So the first hole here in the tip, this is the far end of the weight. This controls high RPM full shift control. It has the largest influence on the high RPM behavior. Weight placed here increases force when the arm is swung far outward at like high speeds and stuff. It controls your top end shift is what this hole does here. So more weight in the tip equals lower RPM in the high range at high speeds. It gives you stronger mid to top shift on here. Now let's move to the second hole. These are just, I'm just going over this real quick. That way you guys have a basic understanding. The center hole, this is what we call the center hole or the second hole. It increases mid-range acceleration and most of the shifting curve. It applies force through most of the swing. It varies balanced across the RPM range depending upon the amount of weights you have in there. Less weight here equals higher RPM in the mid-range, where more weight here equals lower RPM in the mid-range. Now we move to the third hole, AKA the hole at the heel of it. The heel hole near the pivot, right there, it's lower RPM engagement at like your start off. It acts early in the shift curve because it's close to the pivot. Influences RPM and back shift sensitivity right there. It does give a small effect in like the high RPM range, but more weight in the heel equals lower clutch engagement RPM and quicker up shifts at low speed. Less weight in the heel, higher RPM, snappier low end response, for less weight there. So you can fine tune just as you want to with these 3 holes. So guys, that's essentially how that works. But again, we do put everything in our instructions. Okay, now that we got our bases covered there, I want to talk about springs. And the spring that comes with our kit, some of you have some concerns, and we want to talk about those concerns. And I want to tell you there's nothing to be concerned about, and we're going to explain it here in a minute. Let's go ahead and get this clutch cover off here. Guys, I also want to mention that we are using our upgraded clutch bolts because the stock bolts, they do like to snap off. So go ahead and get our upgraded clutch bolts on our website, rngperformance.net. Back the bolts out more. All right, guys, so we have been developing a new spring. Bill and I have been working hard about this. We're going to explain the differences between this new spring we developed and this spring here that we currently use in our kit. And we'll soon be offering this spring as well. We're going to keep offering this one because I feel like this spring here is far more superior. But some of you guys kind of don't like it, and I'm going to explain why. It's not that you don't like the performance. Everybody that installs this kit loves the performance. But some of you guys, pointing out that it's a little snug around the nut, okay? This is nothing to be concerned about. We developed this spring for a reason to work like this. Now this here is the stock spring. You'll see that this spring is the same width, but it's skinnier coils, okay? Skinnier coils, and it's much, much longer. This spring will bind up full shift, okay? So it has that problem, that's stock spring. And then we move to this spring. So to get the parameters correct on the spring that we needed to make this clutch work more correctly, we had to go with a little bit of a thicker coil. And there is some issues where the spring doesn't sit all the way down in the seat. And this is okay. It's nothing to be concerned about. This is okay. It still sits in the seat. It just don't sit all the way down inside the seat. We'll explain that here in a minute. But to get this spring on and off, we twist it counterclockwise, take it on. We twist it counterclockwise, take it off. Twist it off. Twist it on, twist it off. Okay? It's not a problem. And you can see we've been running this spring for quite some time. There's not really any damage or anything inside the spring. This speed limiter here, it is very close inside this spring. So you can get some rubbage on the springs and it may rub a little paint off. This is fine, this is normal, okay? But as you can see, that spring cup goes down in quite a ways. But I also want you to see just how close this stock spring is too on this nut. It is no saint, all right? It is snug as well, okay? You may be concerned about it, some of you, because it may look like it's binding. I can assure you this spring was designed in mind of this nut and it is not going to bind or cause any issues. And if you have any issues, don't worry, we're gonna take care of you, but you're not gonna have any issues. We're not gonna leave you hanging if you do, but you're not going to. So some of you still may be concerned about this a little bit. So we went ahead and we developed a spring that has two different size ends. And we're gonna talk about two different size ends because this here is a different size and this spring fits perfect in the cap, okay? Cup, hat, whatever you may call it. I'm just using layman's terms, simple terms here for everybody to follow along. But this spring fits perfect in there. This is a different size than what we have going on here. So it makes designing springs quite challenging because we want to design something that works, and we have designed something that works, but we have to design something that fits. And I'll flip it over just so you know. Same size, same everything, okay? We have designed something that works, but what CFMOTO's got going on here is two different sizes. Now the spring here is one size. It's not two different sizes, right? Okay? So we had to take all of this into consideration when designing a spring that actually works and makes this clutch do what it needs to do. With that being said, some of you guys are more concerned. We did develop another spring here. It's got two different size ends. Okay, let's put that there for now. You have an end that fits that, and then you have an end that's bigger and doesn't fit the way it should, okay? So that's what we got going on. One end that's smaller, one end that's bigger, and it doesn't sit all the way down in like it needs to, okay? So I want to show you here with my calipers. Hold on, I want to get on this side of the camera, so we're going to zero that out. Let me figure out a way here. There we go. 43.29. And then this end is 41.77. So we had to develop a spring that has two different size ends. The bigger end is going to go and sit over that nut, okay? And down into that seat. Where the smaller end is going to fit in this hat, okay? But to make this happen, there was some sacrifices that had to be made. This spring is not going to perform exactly like this spring. Very close, very similar, but not exactly like this spring. So what we're doing is if you have this spring and you're concerned about it being snug in here, send this spring back. We're gonna send you this spring for free, all right? And from here on out on our website, once these are done from powder coat, they are gonna be a different color. This is the one here we developed and was testing. This is a brand new one that I painted to make look nice for you guys. It's gonna be a different color. But once they're in from powder coat, we'll have an option on our site for you to pick which one you want. But I want you to know that if performance is what you're after, it's the yellow spring here. This one is very similar, but you know, to get what we needed to get to make some of your concerns, you know, to fix some of your concerns, we did that, but you do lose a little performance because we've got essentially two different sizes of a spring, and that's what we came up with. But again, they're very similar, not exactly the same. These use different coil sizes, coil lengths, etc., as you can see. Very different spring, and will perform very similar, but not the same. So for me personally, my machine, this is going to reside in my machine. This is the one that I'm choosing to go with just because it more suits my needs. And then this is the one here that you'll have an option if you want it over the yellow spring. So once we get it, I think color is going to be purple. I think, I'm not too sure yet, but we're working on a different color to differentiate it from all the other springs we have. But here you go, two different sizes, boom and boom, fits both sides, okay? So that's what we had to do. So again, guys, just to reiterate, this is the one that's gonna live in my machine permanently because I like it the most. And guys, just so you know, these aren't the only two springs that Bill and I worked on and developed. We have tons of springs, tons of different variations, more like this, as well as more like this. And this is what we got to get the absolute most power, belt grip out of this clutch, etc., that we can get. There's a lot of development and R&D as to what goes on here. And I want to let you know, because some of you are concerned. A lot of you are running it and you're loving it, but a couple of you have reached out and said, hey, Red, I don't like how tight this spring is, okay? And I get that. I get your concern, but we had this in mind when developing this spring, and there's nothing wrong with it. It's not going to hurt anything. It's a little tight around the nut. If we would have made it so it went around that nut nice and smooth, it would not sit in there. And then if we made it bigger, it also wouldn't sit in there. We tried. We tried everything. So we ended up with this thing here, which is a great spring, and it'll probably fit most of you guys. It does do the same, very close to the same thing as this. This does have a little lower engagement. That's about it, honestly, but performance on the top end, this one here. So if you're running big tires and stuff, I would definitely opt for the yellow spring, but the orange spring is an option. And if you send us back your yellow spring, we will replace it for this. If you don't like this one, send this one back, give us some shipping, and we'll send you back a yellow spring, okay? It'll probably be the same spring that you took out, not a new one, you know, because I'll put these on the shelf just in case, but yeah. Know that Bill and I, we do make our own springs to our own specifications, and we have tons of them made. Yes, we had one made that's very close to this. Actually, I say one. We had a bunch of them made. Different diameters, coils, and everything that goes into it. And we just could not get a long, skinny spring to do what we wanted it to do. It's just, number one, we find that it kind of binds up at full shift out with having that length and that many coils. It just is not good, and we couldn't get it to perform the way that this clutch needs to perform. And this clutch needs a primary kit. It needs weight arms. It needs a primary spring to perform the way that it should perform, guys. I know some of you are doing kits that don't have primaries kits and stuff and only doing secondaries. This clutch needs this. And with our arms and our springs, we have it bang on. So I'm going to give you guys the opportunity to pick which spring you want when you order this. And I'm going to give you a breakdown of what each spring does on there so you know which one to pick. And just note that this is 2 different sizes, okay? So it only goes on one way, the orange spring, all right? So it's not really hard, just try it. Don't force it over that nut. If it don't fit, flip it over, okay? Flip it over. So, all right, guys, that concludes today's video on the CFMOTO U10. I hope this helped you guys. I hope it helps you with tuning, and I hope it helps you better understand how we do things. And I'm not going to sell you something that's bad for your clutch. As you see, we ran this spring, put a bunch of miles on this spring, and it's fine, guys. The clutch is fine. No damage done to anything at all. It's perfectly fine, all right? So peace out. God bless. Make sure you hit that like, share, and subscribe button. And let us know what you think. Would you want to try the orange spring? If you want to try this orange spring without sending us back this, we will sell you this spring. So just call us and we'll let you buy just the spring, okay? So check that out and we'll go from there. All right, guys, peace out. God bless. We'll see you in the next one. These CFMOTO U10s are pretty wicked. So, guys, one thing I do want to note with that new spring, it does help minimize that clunk on takeoff quite a bit. Now, that clunk is naturally in the transmission, but if you get the clutch to engage slightly lighter, that clunk is way easier. So here's with the new spring, okay? We're going to this low gear. We're moving, okay? Now let's go to reverse, all right? There's still a clunk there. You can't get rid of it completely, but it does help minimize it and make it lighter. That's high gear. We're moving right now. 1600 RPM, we're moving. Now, I do have 3 weights, 3 magnets in the tip, and 2 in the center hole. That's my setup. But, see, the clunk is still there. You're never going to get rid of it fully. It's in the transmission, but it is much lighter with this spring. So if that's something you're wanting to get rid of, this spring is what you need with our primary kit, or our complete clutch kit. Let me go to reverse. See, still clunky, but it is much softer. So it does help, but it's in the transmission.